Bwana asifiwe. Nataka kushukuru Pastor David Wainaina for this opportunity to come and stand in your church. Reverend George and your wife. You're wonderful people, and I really appreciate to be here. I hear them call me Reverend Mahoya Sami. Mahoya is a Greek name for prayers, and I love Jesus. I serve with Kingdom Builders Church, Kagudo Road, and we had a great service, and we are happy to join you now. I'm going to share with us about communication in the marriage. I'm a trainer. I work with Apostle John Kimani William there in Nakuru as the principal for Bible school in KTTI. I'm also working with the Reverend George here at Kiambu Word of Faith Community College. And also I have a ministry just at Kagudo Road. And I thank God He has given me a chance to minister to the ministers. Na hiyo ndio kibarua kubwa Mungu amenipatia, that I may help the servants of God, the ministers, so that they can be able to move on. I have written two or three marriages books. One is 15 rules of communication in your marriage or in your relationship. It's 15 rules of communication. And the other one is 15 rules of managing finances in your marriage. Amen. Today I want to talk about those rules of communication in your marriage. Because marriage without communication does not work. Right? There is no marriage without a lot of problems. Actually, you are either getting out of a problem, you are either in the problem, or you are either entering into one in your marriage. So there is no way problems don't come to the marriage. Your marriage will face so many problems. You don't have to say an amen, and you don't have to reject, because it's a reality. And I want you to ask the person you're seated next to whether they understand that marriages have a lot of problems. Kindly, you have to learn to talk to your neighbor. Hapa ni kwa Mungu. Ongea na jirani. Can you talk to your neighbor? It's very important. And nikiona huongei na jirani ni kumaanisha umekaa na mtu wako. Unapenda kuongea na wenyewe. What people don't love to talk to their neighbor, because your neighbor is your wife, is your husband. But if you are seated next to a stranger, you want to talk. This is not good. So what I'm saying here, marriage has a lot of problems. In the marriage, you are either entering into a problem, or you are either in the midst of a marriage problem, or you have just gotten out of a problem of the marriage. Isn't it? And marriage problems comes whether you like it or not. Marriage faces various problems. They call them crisis. Marriage crisis. Some problems are bad, some are mild, some are wild, and some are huge, some are small. But every marriage goes through problems. I give this story many times, that even the most beautiful wife go through a lot in their marriages. Even the most handsome man, they still have some time to cry in their marriage. I give an example. If everybody is told to bring their problem here, and every problem that is disturbing you in your marriage, bring it now. And we bring all of them here. Then we say, hey, these problems are too much. Come and pick two. Everybody will fight to pick theirs. Because the other problem you are seeing are scaring. So, you better learn to understand every marriage has their unique problems. I don't know where you're getting my point. Sometimes we must learn to work with those problems. Some people have problems of finances. Others have plenty of it. And it is because there is money, there is no peace. The other marriages, because there is no money, there is problems. There are others who don't have problems with finances, but they don't get children. Or another marriage got 1 children, the second one and third one did not come, though they had agreed to give birth to 4. So a problem is in the marriage. There are those who also got married and never got a child. It's a problem, isn't it? There are those who have a problem. You know, the other day we were dealing with an issue of a man who wet the bed. He has a problem of, the blood has a problem, so he has to survive with a diaper. And therefore, because the wife does not want this man to tell anybody, she makes sure everywhere the wife is, he is there. So that you don't make a blunder of telling someone that I wet my bed or that I put on the diapers. Other marriages, they are fighting because the man wants too much sex. There's another marriage that the engine is not working. So every marriage has a problem. It's only that they are not the same. Are you getting my point? There are those who are fighting because they are staying together too much. And there are those who are fighting because theirs is a distant relationship. So they see each other like passport. So the person you are seated next to is dealing with a certain problem in their marriage. And that is the truth. Huh? Even if they look holy, holier than thou, they are dealing with a problem. Only Jesus did not go through marriage problems because he never married. Yeah? Suppose if he had married, maybe he could not have gone to the cross. So I want you to understand this, that whatever you are going through in your marriage, don't feel as if your marriage is so bad that there could be a better marriage somewhere. Every marriage goes through a problem. Number 2, I'm putting a foundation of what I want to share. Number 2, there is no perfect marriage, but there are good marriages. You know, there is a difference between perfect and good. There is no perfect marriage, but there is what? There are good marriages, but there is no perfect. In other words, every marriage has its own weakness. Huh? There is no perfect marriage. Even if you meet people who are very smart, good looking, even those who kiss on the road, they have a lot of weaknesses like that one. Even those who walk holding hands, even those who call each other babe, and the others will say Joroge, Mwagi, and they are okay. Every marriage has its own weakness. One of the mistakes you can do in life, is to compare your partner with another person's partner. But why don't you behave like Mr. So-and-so? You don't know Mr. So-and-so is very weak. And maybe the weakness of that man, your husband has overcome. Your wife is better. So there is no marriage that is perfect. And the third thing I also want to talk about, so I've said there's no perfect marriage, but there are good marriages. I compare marriages to your finger. Do you see this finger? And I want you to, if you are sitting next to your wife, igiza vidole zako, vile watu wanaingizaga, just come, Pastor Gladys, come here. And Pastor George, kuja na bottle ya maji. Ni mkono hii ama ni ile? Kini iko na pete hii. Na ndio ninahitaji ile ingine. Come with your wife, mtu wa Mungu. Leta hii maji. Haya, mtu wa Mungu jirete. Fungua hii maji. Ama fungua hiyo maji. I want you to hold your wife's finger like this. Wewe ndio ulimchagua. Sasa yangu iwezi ingiana juu si wangu. Yeah, yours is working. Mine is not working because she's a stranger to me. Now, I want you to make sure you put water inside here. Just put water inside here. Just a little bit of it. Achia hapo. Enda ufanye the same. Tuone nani what we want to see nani atamwaga. Ongeza maji mtu wa Mungu. Add more water. We want to see whether your marriage has a leakage. Tosha. Wewe unaharibu. Umeweka mingi sana. Now ours has overflow. Anyway, I want you to understand something. This is what we call strength. This is what we call weakness. Strength, weakness, strength, weakness. For marriage to be strong, you have to bring your weakness to me, and I bring my weakness to you. You bring your strength to me, and I bring my strength to you. We combine them together, no leakage. What brings strength in the marriage is actually appreciating one another's weakness and appreciating one another's strength. Because if you meet people who are strong, two of them like this, you can never fit. That's what they call incompatibility. You can never be able to fit because you are too strong for one another, so you can't work together. But when there are weaknesses, that's what makes marriage work. Now, God bless you. God bless you. Clap for them. Now, tumeona ni doa ya nani iko na leakage. Now listen. There is no perfect marriage, right? Therefore, there is no perfect marriage, but there are good marriages, isn't it? Every marriage, number what? Number 3, every marriage has its own strength. That is to say, every marriage you see is strong in its own way. And every marriage is weak in its own way. Very weak. You know, there is no marriage that has, including mine, it has its own strength. For example, me and my wife, we are co-partners in the ministry in a very serious way. And I see pastors admiring that. but also wondering how do we manage, because we are serious ministry partners and we work well, no fight, no gap, no weakness. But there are other things we don't partner. Every marriage has its own strength, and every marriage has its own weakness. Let me say another thing. Nimesema mambo mangapi? Number what? Now going to number 4. The number 4 thing I want to understand is that every marriage has its own hardships. There's no marriage that doesn't encounter hardships. You know what are hardships? Things that make you feel like you can quit. There was a survey that was done here in Kenya, in Nairobi, about, it was done on men. And they were being asked one question. If you are given another chance to marry, would you choose the same wife or you'd choose another? 87% out of 1,000 men, 870 said they would marry a different one. And maybe you can ask the man seated next to you. I know they will lie. Wacha tuache. So 87% said they could make a different choice. But then as time goes by, if you start appreciating the person you have, you will realize that they are not replaceable in your life. They are unique in how they help you. They are unique in how you work together, isn't it? So every marriage has its own hardships, right? Right? Every marriage has its own temptations. Things that want to bring you down. Things that are tempting you to do things you wouldn't want to do in the marriage. There is no marriage that is not targeted by the enemy. Temptations in your marriage. They will come to your wife, to your husband, because every marriage has what? Its own temptations. Are we together, friends? But there's something also I want you to know, that every marriage can work. Every marriage can work. That simply means marriage works. Marriage does what? Marriage works. And it works when we work on it. Marriage works when we do what? When we work on it. So marriage stop working when we stop working on it. Marriage stop working when you stop working on it. If you see a greener pasture whereby there's something good growing in that land, it simply means someone has been cultivating it. That is the same case with the marriage. See a good wife, don't admire them. Someone has been working on them, isn't it? See a good man, don't admire someone's husband. You can also make yours admirable. That means when I discovered this, I noted that the easiest way to love my wife is to make her the flower I desire. So I make sure she go to salon with my money. I make sure that she put on the clothing I desire to see her. For mine, kuna wale wanataka tufupi, mimi nataka ndefu, na ninasikia ako romantic tu hivyo. Na kuna mwingine akitembea na simidhuru na kafupi ndio anasikia akiwa mtu. So you make your wife admirable the way you admire, or your husband, isn't it? She doesn't like seeing me na majacket. Anakataga sana. Hata naifichaga nikitoa kwa nyumba. Namwambia kukinyesha inaweza saidia. She doesn't want to see me with a t-shirt. right? So there's a lot of battles to make sure that I live in a way that she like me. So she want me to dress for her and also want her to dress for me. Marriage works when you both work at it. The other thing I want to say, it takes two to make the marriage work. It takes how many? Two. It takes two to make marriage work. It takes two to break it. Never be cheated. Marriage is not broken by one partner. It takes how many? Even when one partner says, I want to divorce, there is always something about the other partner that made the divorce to come. There is something wrong about the other partner who doesn't want to divorce. So it takes two to make it work, and it takes two to break it. Are you getting my point? For marriage to work, there is what we call the pillars of a working marriage. Are you getting my point? The pillars of what? Of a working marriage. What are these things that make it work? What are they? And I'll tell you number one of what makes the marriage work. It is also the same thing that makes it not to work. I'll take you back to the book of Genesis when God created Adam and Eve. When they were left, two of them together, what brought problem in the Garden of Eden is communication. If there was proper communication in the Garden of Eden, there was no problem in that marriage. Look at it like this. Initially, God communicated with Adam about his desire. Eat everything but don't touch the fruit of the middle tree. Sawa? Then they stayed. Then here comes the snake, the devil in form of a snake. And when the devil appeared, he also communicated otherwise. And he casted doubt through talking. Did God really say that you don't even touch? In the time of talking between the devil and the wife, she was fully convinced and she took the fruit and ate. Then she took it and gave to the husband. The husband would have talked instead of eating bridely and quietly. But he just kept quiet and ate. Immediately after they ate, God appears to man. And he started calling, Adam. I say, Oi, where are you? I'm hiding. Why are you hiding? Because I am naked. Who told you you are naked? Did you eat the fruit I told you not to eat? Instead of communicating about the issue, they started with what we call blame game. What started in this marriage? Ni nini ilianza kwa hii ndoa? Ni kulaumia? Now listen. When God asked them, did you eat the fruit? What did Adam tell God? It is not me. It is the wife that you gave to me. So I want to ask your neighbor, when did blame game started in the marriage? Ask your neighbor that question. The blame game. Ilianza lini? Shida ya kukaa na your husband na your wife ni kwamba hataki kuongea juu anajua mliblameliana sana hata asubuhi, lakini muongeleshane kwa neema. Ama ni wa mix ndio neema ishuke. Now, are you getting my point? The truth is, the first blame to happen in the marriage happened at the Garden of Eden. They even blamed God. It is the wife you gave me. Then the wife was asked, Eve, did you eat the fruit? And he said, it is not me. It is the snake. Only the snake did not have someone to blame. So, since that time of Garden of Eden, marriage that are not working are full of blame game. In fact, one of the things that make marriage difficult is when we realize that everything we do in our marriage is to blame one another. And I have heard people who blame even God. Why did you bring this one, oh God? Because the blame game started that time. Let me come to another thing. So I want you to know this. The pillar of a working marriage is the same pillar that is causing the other marriages that are not working not to work. And for me, I want to begin with one pillar. I have written a book in it, 15 Pillars of a Strong Marriage. And one of the pillars I have discussed in that book is the pillar of communication. Are you getting my point? The pillar of communication. And I want to tell you, all the problems that marriages go through are solved through talking. Tell me any problem in your marriage that can be solved without people talking. There isn't it? Problems don't go by keeping silent, because when we keep silent, it's like we are hiding serious problems that will finally affect us. So communication is the instrument. Is what? Instrument that do what? That do what? That solve marriage problems. And I want you to know, if there is no proper communication in your house, there is a lot of struggle. Number two, if there is bad communication in your marriage, there is a lot of struggle. And I must also say, there is serious blessings in every marriage that talk well. They say relationships die when communication stops. If you want to know, those who did a wedding or those who courted before they married, ask them how much they were spending on credit. With their credits to call. Unasikia, someone is calling, and you know, when people are in relationship, they talk nonsense, but they talk for a long time. Hi, how are you doing? I'm doing well. I've missed you too. Hey, what are you doing? I'm just relaxing. And what are you doing? Good night. Why don't you switch off? Even you switch off. And you realize, you talk, a credit of 1,000 is gone, and there was no point. If people talk the way they talk in relationship, they talk in the marriages would work. Huh? So mi nashindwa nitakuoa lini? Hata mi nashangaa nitakuja kwako lini? Nitakuja tu, utakuja tu. Yani, there's a next stage of communication there that's so sweet, but it has no sense. Yet you are spending a lot of money. When people come to marriage, you realize they are now not talking the way they used to talk. There's a challenge. But I must tell everybody who is seated here that every one of you, if you are married, things work when communication is working. Things stop working when communication is not working. May I also say this? Without communication, nothing works. Nothing. Without communication in the marriage, nothing works. Because money require people to talk. Children require parents to talk. In-laws require you talk and agree way forward. Conflict require you talk. Working require you talk. Challenges of your marriage require that you talk. So when there is no talking, nothing works. Nothing. And when there is communication in your marriage, almost 100% of all your problems can be dealt with. Almost 100% of all your problems, they can be solved through communication. Are we together? Are we together? So I have said another thing that is very important. You connect or disconnect in your marriage because of communication. Lack of communication brings disconnect. Communication brings connection. Are we together? Listen to me. The moment there is no good communication, people disconnect. And when you disconnect, communication goes even higher. That's when you realize communication stop being normal. And I want to use my wife here as an example. Just come. Let me show you something. When we are not in good terms, are we together? When I'm here, I shout. Have you ever realized you are talking to your husband or to your wife and you are shouting and you are two of you and you are seeing each other? And you wonder, why are you shouting to me? Yeah? When you are in good terms, have you ever listened to parents engaging to, have you remember when you engage in sex as a married partner, nobody talk loudly. Because when you are making love, you are connected. And communication doesn't have to have a shouting. Wait, there is a disconnect. You are in the same house, and that marriage look like barracks. Hey, hey! You know how the police in the barracks are commanded to act. That's how the marriage comes. And what makes that the marriage to continue being strong is ensuring that you are communicating throughout so that there will be no disconnect. When you stop talking, look at me here. When you stop talking in your marriage, there is a disconnect, isn't it? This gap, when you hear someone shouting to you and you are together, don't think they are shouting in vain. There is what we call psychological gap. Psychological gap means they feel as if you are very far from them. Though you are close, they don't feel your closeness. That's why there is shouting. Because there is a disconnect, and that disconnect magnifies psychological gap. Though you are shouting at each other. And by the way, it is something you need to speak politely. Marriage disconnect comes because you stopped working. You stopped talking. And marriage starts working when you start talking. I don't know if you're getting my point. Hello? Nisalimie hivi katika jina la Yesu. For me to live with this woman you are seeing here, of course, few months we used to fight. But then I realized the value of communication when I was still very young in the marriage. I started taking her to different hotels. We take coffee. We discuss things of our marriage. I tell her where she hurt me. She tell me where I hurt her. I listen. She listened. I started seeing change. She loved She loved chips masala when we have a discussion. I don't know whether she wanted that bitter thing so that she's not bitter about me. But then she loved Timasara and we could talk. Then we had a black book. When we talk, we write down what we agree. And that helped us a lot to connect and become friends in our marriages. Praise the name of Jesus. You can have your seat. Are you getting my point? Now listen to me. The fact that people are married and they are adults, not all people knows how to communicate. By the way, you can be an adult who talk nonsense. And when you communicate, the other person is hurting, but you are normal. Yourself, you are normal, but you're hurting the other person. And I want you to understand, in the marriage, we don't talk because our mouths are idle. In the marriage, we talk to move forward. Because marriage, communication make survive. I'm telling you, marriages survive when there is a talk. I don't know whether we're getting my point. I want you to draw the head of a human being. Draw a head, draw a circle, put the ears, mouth, and eyes. Do that quickly for those who have their notes. You can draw on your notebook. You draw a human head with a mouth, with the 2 ears, with a nose, with the eyes, and the head full of hair. Are you there? Are you doing it? Now, we normally say this. And now I want you to write something about communication using that picture. This is very important in every marriage, isn't it? Point number 1. With that head you have drawn there. Point number 1. You are given a big head. So andika big head. Andika big head. Alafu weke dash. Put dash. Big head, dash. To think before I speak. You think before you speak. Let me tell you. The reason why you are given a head and it's full of common sense, and common sense is not common. The reason why you are given that head in the marriage is to think before you open your mouth. And I want you to look at the person seated next to you and tell them the reason why you have a big head is to think before you talk. Tell your partner like that. Yeah? Are we together? Is to do what? Think before you talk. That's why you have a big head. Isn't it? They normally say, if God were to allow the common sense to be free, human beings' heads could be bigger than this church. But he had to compress everything to that size. But still, it's a big one. But the reason why you have that big head is to use your common sense. Think through before you talk to your partner. These are the things you ask yourself. Is what I'm going to speak going to hurt the marriage or build it? Is what I want to say, have I verified it? Am I sure whether it is true? Huh? Is it going to build or to destroy? Use your head to think before you talk. Can you help your neighbor again and do a small counseling there and tell your neighbor, the reason why this head of yours is big is that ask yourself several questions before you talk to me. If you are sitting next to your partner, tell them, ask yourself several questions before you open your mouth to me. Because there are people who talk without thinking. Are we together? Then, the other thing I want you to also understand about your big head, I want you to tell your neighbor, whenever you are talking, connect your head with your mouth. You connect your what? Your head with, with your mouth. So that when something is not okay, you can easily correct it because your brain is telling you you are crossing the boundary. But there are people who talk nonsense to their partners and they say, I did not say that. You say, now many tusi. Who? You say, no. You are hurting me with your words. No, I didn't hurt you. And then they say, I never said that. Huh? You called me dog. Me, I never called you dog. But when you connect your mouth with your head, it is easier to listen through what you are telling the other person. Are you getting my point? Let's go to number 2. Number 2, Adika, 2 years. 2 what? 2 years. You have how many years? 2. And we normally say about 2 years, you are given 2 years so that you can listen more than you talk. So 2 years, Adika hapo, 2 years to listen more than I talk. God is wise. He did not give us 2 mouths. If people had 2 mouths, one behind here and another one here, every marriage will be full of noise with the 4 mouths talking to each other. But God gave you 2 ears so that you can listen more than you talk. Are you getting my point? Number 3, 1 mouth. 1 what? 1 mouth. I want you to imagine this. The head, the ears, and the eyes. Before I come there, let me first of all go to the 4th one. 2 eyes. 2 what? 2 eyes, and they are in front. They are in front. 2 eyes to listen to what you are not being told. So in the marriage, eyes are ears. In the marriage, what? Eyes are ears. What do they listen to? They listen to what we call non-verbal communication. The psychologists say in our marriage communication, 67% of our marriage communication is non-verbal. 67% of our what? Communication is non-verbal. That is to say, people talk too much with their eyes, with their body, with their face, more than they use their mouth. Have you ever found a situation where your wife is looking at you when you are talking and they are not saying anything, but they are telling you, stop talking about those stories? Huh? Or you look at your husband and your husband look at you and you realize that direction is bringing issues and you change the topic, isn't it? Because eyes in the marriage, they are ears. And I want to talk to your neighbor and tell your neighbor, your eyes are ears in your marriage. So that don't wait to be told everything. Observe. You will know things are not okay. Something is not happening. Just look at things in your marriage and you can be able to know there's something not working well by just having to look at what is going on. Then we have, let me come back to the mouth. isn't it? I've said one mouth to speak less. One mouth to do what? Speak less. You know, okay, if you want to know that the mouth should come last, I want you to ask your neighbor, what sign that clearly shows you the mouth should come last? Not ears. Ears should come first. Your head should come first. Your eyes should come first. But your mouth should come last. But I want you to ask your neighbor, what is the sign that your mouth should come last? Can you have a commercial break and ask your neighbor that question? Why do you think the mouth should come last in your marriage? What is the sign? What is the sign? Yeah? I want you to start here. Look, I want you to start here. This is the head, eyes, ears, mouth. That is why it is the last thing of the head. If God wanted communication to come first, the mouth should be here. So that when you put even food, it goes. But now, the mouth come down here because it should be the last option. When there is communication, listening comes first, thinking comes first. Are we together? And even your eyes come first, but your mouth come last. And so far, I want you to talk to your neighbor what you have heard. And please engage your neighbor. Hapa ni kwa Mungu, wacha kujifanya. Ongelesha jirani, pesa inaishanga. What have we said? So far, what have we said? Talk to your neighbor. So far, what have we said? I want to hear you talk. Talk to your neighbor. Engage your friend. So far, what have we said?